Let's now talk about how Israel's coalition government has collapsed. Coalition heads Bennett and Lapid have moved to dissolve the parliament. What does that mean? It means Israel will go back to the ballot box for the 5th time in over 3 years. This election is especially crucial because former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is eyeing a comeback to power. Take a look.
That was Naftali Bennett and Yair Lapid. They were announcing the collapse of the government. What happened next was something that could not have been scripted. As Bennett announced the collapse, lights went out in the hall. When the power came back, Yair Lapid murmured, "How symbolic." This moment has summed up Israeli politics in the last 3 years. Elections and more elections. The coalition government in Israel has collapsed. Israel is heading to its 5th elections in over 3 years.
We spared no efforts to galvanize whomever was needed to pass the regulations, but unfortunately our efforts bore no fruit. Therefore, my friend, Foreign Minister Yair Lapid, and I decided to act together to dissolve Parliament and set an agreed-upon date for elections.
Bennett and Lapid were leading what was Israel's most diverse government in history. But in just over a year, the coalition has run its course. It lost its majority after multiple lawmakers quit the government. The government had a wafer-thin majority to begin with. The Israeli parliament, or Knesset, has a total of 120 seats, so the majority mark is 61. The coalition had 62 seats, so after 3 lawmakers quit, they simply did not have the numbers to sustain. So, the coalition heads decided to dissolve the Knesset.
What has happened in the past few days, what has happened here tonight, is further proof that the Israeli system is in need of serious change and major repairs. A year ago, we started the process of rebuilding, and now we are carrying it on together.
The Israeli coalition government was a mix of 8 parties, spanning from the far right to the far left. It was also the first to ever be backed by an Arab party. But while diversity was its strength, it was also the government's Achilles heel. The coalition got off to a strong start. It passed the first national budget in several years, navigated a pair of coronavirus waves, and even improved relations with the US and Arab allies. Ultimately, ideological differences caused it to unravel. From the start, the coalition focused too much on consensus, thus ignoring diverse topics like the Israeli-Palestine conflict. The Arab Party even called out the government's stance on the Palestine issue. Once the government is dissolved, Lapid will take over. He will be Israel's caretaker prime minister. This is until a new government is sworn in. Lapid will also be the one to greet US President Biden when he visits Israel next month. The elections are likely to take place in October, after all the Jewish holidays. The new vote could set the stage for Netanyahu's return to power. His camp is already courting members of the Knesset. The former Prime Minister has 2 options ahead of him. He can gather enough members and form an alternative government. This could be a win-win situation for all. Israel would not have to go through another election, and Benjamin Netanyahu will be back as Israel's Prime Minister. But if Netanyahu does not have the numbers, Israel will go to the polls again. The coming months present great risk and great opportunity. Once again, Netanyahu's Likud party appears to be the front runner, while Yair Lapid's Yesh Atid could get 20 seats. Lapid is likely to face relentless attacks from Netanyahu. but he will do so from the perch of the Prime Minister's office. Even then, the two sides would still have to cobble up a coalition. So even with elections, a clear majority for either side is highly unlikely. Lapid has to work now at looking prime ministerial. His new post as interim prime minister is his greatest asset going into the election. His only goal right now? To stop Netanyahu from coming back to power. West Asia Bureau, WION World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.